Hello, and welcome back to my office, studio, craft room, guest room, the place where I make the things. Anyway, welcome back to another video. Welcome to a new series. Over the past few weeks, I have had a few conversations with people who have expressed interest in wanting to learn how to sew, but really don't know where to start, or they're really intimidated by some of the technical jargon that's out there and can kind of cause people to back away out of overwhelmingness. Is that a word? Overwhelmedness. It is an amazing skill. It's an amazing trade. Learning how to sew is relaxing. It's time consuming, expensive, budget busting. One of the best skills and hobbies you can have. So for those of you who want to learn a new skill, hobby, or trade, welcome. This is going to absolutely be a safe place for beginners. Feel free to ask questions in the comment section that you want addressed in a future video. I'll do my best to make this as close to one-on-one feeling. So for today, we're going to start with the absolute basics. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, okay? So like the itty bitty basics. Go get your sewing machine. I'm sure it's hiding in a closet somewhere. You got it as a gift and it's been sitting in storage ever since. Go get it. Hit the pause button, I'll wait. Oh, and while you're at it, grab a few sheets of printer paper, a couple of colored pens, different colors, and something to draw a straight line with. Oh wait, I am starting off with just some basic printer paper, a ruler, and some different colored Sharpie pens. The way that I taught my kiddo how to sew was by practicing on printer paper, because there's no stress about it. There's no worry about ruining it. If you don't like it, you throw it out. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is draw some lines across your printer paper. I'm not gonna start all the way at the top and end all the way at the bottom. I'm just kind of bloop. They don't even have to be perfect. They don't have to be straight. That's it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the sewing machine and sew along these lines. The next thing that we're going to do, put this one aside, practicing a 5/8 seam allowance. This one I'm going to be a little bit more precise. Let's pretend my orange marker is the raw edge of my fabric, okay? A sewing pattern will have you sew 5/8 of an inch from the edge of your fabric. So what we're gonna do is five-eighths of an inch in is where we draw our second line. I'm going to do that a couple more times. Ooh, sexy. Yours is going to look a whole lot better than mine because I'm doing this without my thumb. Good job. That's good for now. So for this example, I'm going to sew still along the purple dashed line. And remember that this orange line is the end of my fabric, the edge of my fabric. This is just to kind of give your eyeballs a visual of what 5/8 of an inch looks like. The more you are used to what this looks like, the easier it will be when you take it to the sewing machine. And we'll take this to the sewing machine. Do you know how to thread your sewing machine? You sure? If you don't know how to thread your sewing machine, it's pretty simple. Your sewing machine should come with an instruction manual, and they are all slightly different. So even if I show you it on mine, what's on yours might not be exact, but what is pretty universal is that they all have these little cheats. Well, they're not actually cheats, they're instructions. And you just follow the arrows and the lines. Bloop. Timon. I'm not used to doing this left-handed. That should be the name of my new series. Can she do it lefty? What do you think of that idea? Hi. Hey. There you go. Ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo. Now for lay bobbin. We drop it in. Under that little slip. Give it a little tug. You'll feel resistance. You'll feel a little pop. And now to get the bobbin on the right side of the machine, you hit your needle up down button. There it is. Eee. And then we always start with both, these are called our tails, both threads, or our tails, under the foot. Now, the clear plastic plate. The first thing that we are going to practice is just sewing straight lines. So press your foot down, and then when you start, you're gonna hold your tails. If you don't hold your tails, they'll get tucked up, sucked up into the top thread, and it'll make a giant nest, a little bird's nest in your project. What do you think? I mean, considering I'm steering lefty, I'm not disappointed. Now, one of the things that separates quality couture sewing from home sewists is tying your threads off. If you have a modern machine, your machine will have a tie off button. I personally still do this by hand because I want the threads to be on the wrong side of my fabric, where your tie off and cut button will put your top thread on the top, your bottom thread on the bottom. So I still, even with a modern machine, do this manually. It's that simple. I'll show you again. So just give it a little tug and sew a little loopy doopy doopy. That's your top thread. Pull it through to the wrong side and then just do a standard left over right, right over left knot. If you're doing something like curtains or a pillowcase, you can backstitch instead. But if you're doing something like apparel, where you want some of those more couture finishes, that's what you're going to use instead. And the reason for it is because backstitching adds bulk. For a pillowcase, that little teeny bit of bulk doesn't matter, but if you're wanting a dress to lay perfectly flat on your body and not have a lump where your seam ends, it matters. So if you're wanting to backstitch, say it's a pillowcase, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then forward again. One, 2, 3. So you can see right here how those few extra stitches add bulk. And again, like if you're making something like a pillowcase or a cover to go over your sewing machine, like a desk cover, those are okay. It's not that big a deal. It's not going to be the end of the world. I use backstitching in plenty of projects. Typically, you would use backstitching if another seam is not going to perpendicular it. So now what I want you to do is go ahead and finish all your straight lines. Now, if you don't know where to start, there's a notch right here. You want to line that notch up with where you're wanting to go, essentially. It's pretty easy. Keep going. We're back with this guy now. I'm still sewing along the purple lines, but I'm envisioning my orange is the edge of my fabric. If you look on your machine, you have a ruler right here. See? 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 1/2. These lines are here to guide you. When you're working with your fabric, if you're working with apparel making, you're going to use 5/8 of an inch. That is an industry standard. And if you're quilting, you're going to use the 1/4 of an inch, which you can't see because it's all the way back here. Again, in quilting, 1/4 of an inch is standard. In apparel making, 5/8 of an inch is industry standard. So those are, for the most part, the two you need to know. Unless you're making your own patterns, and then you can use whatever seam allowances you want. So, and if you look, my orange line is still lined up with my 5/8 line. This is that measurement. This is that sizing that you would like. You want to get your eye visually accustomed to seeing. Now that you have done a few sheets of practice straight lines, you're ready to tackle some fabric. Yay! Okay, I have in front of me 2 6x6 scrap fabric. I don't have any plans for this. This is utterly and completely for practice. If you want to do this in a full size, a standard decorative pillowcase like for your couch is 18 by 18. So to make a little baby pillow, now my kiddo has one of these that my husband made, and it's like her favorite thing. I think he made it in middle school home ec, and she takes it everywhere with her. And it's like just this little plain solid blue pillow, and it's gross. Like it's old, it's dingy. Meanwhile, I know I have paint on my hands. Get over it. I am. We're just going to put a couple of pins perpendicular to your fabric. And then we're going to leave a gap right here. Okay, we're all pinned together. This is how you would make a pillowcase. Yes, mine is only 6x6. Yours can be any size you want. It's also how I made the pockets for my summer play suit. So this technique is not just for this. Like you would use the same kind of technique for a variety of things. To leave this hole open, I'm going to start here. And then I'm going to sew 5/8 of an inch all the way around the pillow. And then I'm going to end at this pin. I'm going to back stitch at both pins, so that way I'm not making this hole rip when I flip it. Now, until you get comfortable with your machine, it's okay to take a piece of washi tape and run it along your 5/8 inch seam allowance, both vertically and horizontally. Since we are making something that's a square, it will help you have a visual of where to stop and pivot. So, we're gonna start by lining the edge of our fabric up with our 5/8 seam allowance line, which is now very visible thanks to our pink sparkly washi tape. I'm going to do 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to do them in reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to proceed. When I get to the point where this edge of my fabric is lined up with this piece of washi tape, that's when I pivot. Okay, we always pivot needle down, lift your pressure foot, pins always come out before they get to your pressure foot. You don't want to accidentally run them over. Okay, needle is down, foot up, pivot, foot down, proceed. Okay, needles down, pivot. I know that these aren't perfectly lined up. Like I said, this is scrap fabric for me from other projects. So now I'm back on the row that I started, and I'm going to back stitch when I get to my needle. I'm going to back stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, and forward 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see how this does add bulk. And again, for a little project like this, that's a pillow, that's okay. The next thing that we're gonna do is clip our corners. Don't clip my microphone cord. You don't wanna go so close to it that you risk cutting that thread, but you wanna go close enough so that way when it's right side out, you're not adding bulk to that corner. And on the inside, it'll lay nice and flat like that. So you'll actually get a nice sharp point. Okay, and now right side out. And I know a lot of the sewing videos that are on the internet are trying to sell you stuff. You don't need any of that. If you want to get your corners nice and sharp, just make sure you clip your curves. And then if you want to get really sharp, the best tool is something you already have on hand. A pencil without a point. You for reals do not need to go out and spend a lot of money on tools that a lot of quilting stores that make videos will push. That's the base of our baby pillow. Now, put some stuffing in there. Hello. I just had a thought. You know what you could do? If you wanted to make something little like this as a practice, this could make a cute little sachet. You know, put some potpourri in there for your lingerie drawer. Are those still a thing? Do people still do that? You know, or this could be a pillow for your baby doll. I don't know. The whole point of it is learning how to do this. It's not the size that matters. So these little guys came loose on me. That's okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm just tucking them in there. What I'm gonna do is continue to use my sewing machine, but I'm not gonna use this 5/8. I'm not gonna use my 5/8 seam allowance. I'm going to do a scant 1/4 of an inch, the tightest I can go and still be on the top. And again, I'm using black thread so you guys can see it. By all means, use what will match your fabric. Now, if you're sewing with thread, if I was sewing with white thread, that would be pretty invisible. So there you guys have it. Go make some couch pillows, seasonally appropriate. Okay guys, I really hope you have enjoyed having some sewing lessons with me, some beginner sewing lessons. This is going to be the content for the next couple of weeks until I can get rid of this thing. And stick around, we'll have some more lessons, we'll have some more shenanigans, we'll have some more fun. As we start getting into August, there's gonna be some more spooky time content because I'm ready for spooky time. Who's ready for spooky time? Comment down below if you're ready for spooky time because I'm ready for spooky time. Okay, anyway guys, I love you so much and I will see you next week.